Guys and dolls. So it's Wednesday, halfway through the week, guys, and yeah, watching Paul Thorpe this morning. Um, Pretty sad. So it is that you know getting his kids out, basically his children and his grandchildren. Probably more for his grandchildren. I imagine. The kids are old enough to look after themselves, so they're probably wanting to protect their children. Hopefully that's not bouncing about too much there, guys. Um, yeah, I just can't get my head around this, guys. Um, like I said to good friend Ronnie this morning, um, it's like you'd be mad if you were to think about bringing children into the world. Some parts of England right now, if you didn't move out of the country, you would certainly move away from that area. It's just too dangerous. Everybody knows this now. It's like it's more common now. It's not like 10 years ago with the grooming gangs and where it was all kept so quiet. More and more people are just finding out about that today. You know what I mean? It's like they're trying to understand. I think a lot of people just thought it was far right rhetoric that like this 1,400 girls in one city. That's just an exaggeration. That is. No, it's not an exaggeration. 1,400 children were abused in one city. And that's just one city, you know what I mean? That's what I keep saying. There's like 20 cities that it happened in. And you're not even getting an idea of how many victims there was because, come on, think about it. It's hard enough getting the convictions that they got from these guys for the small, minute ones that they managed to convict. It's just like Northern Ireland. This is what I keep telling people. It's just like where I come from. Back in the day, police didn't have a chance in our areas. We were staunch, Obviously, you have your grasses, but, in general public, pretty staunch, And that's what it's like in these areas, When these guys are going up to court, their families are like supporting them. Their friends are supporting them. They don't go into prison, into the beast wing, into the protection. They go into mainstream. This is a different level, guys, And now we have people, big names, leaving the country. Now, there's more than Paul Thorpe. So there is a lot more than Paul Thorpe, guys. What I don't understand, right, is how can a government stand by, knowing fine rightly that people are talking and actually are moving out of this country because of illegal immigration and the damage it's doing to our society, and they still carry on. Kidding on, they're stopping people that are selling boats. And that's meant to think, look at that. They're bringing out a law for spiking. He's coming out and saying, yeah, I'm bringing out a law for spiking. If you spike anybody, you'll go to jail. There's been a law for spiking for the last 10 years. I promise you, there's been a law already. There's already a law. I'm not going to dig up the section 2B, whatever it is, but it's there. And it carries a prison sentence, guys. What's going on? There's a petition of over 2.5 million people, and he's talking about bringing out laws that are already here. The country's in uproar. Millions of people are up in arms right now, screaming out for help from anybody that will listen, telling people that our country is being invaded. We've got an illegitimate government in power. And still, they just carry on destroying this country, destroying lives in this country. You've got no idea how far and how deep this goes. How many people are touched by this because our media will not report on it. You're not going to see a documentary of the victims of all these grooming gangs and the victims' families 20 years later, 10 years later. Like a good documentary of how it's affected people's lives, you know? What actually happened? Why did it go on so long? And why was there so many children affected? Why did so many councils and police ignore the cries for help? You'll never see anything like that. You know, and this is why Elon Musk is saying that the government are finished. The government are finished. Our media is finished. They just don't know it yet. This is this is the beginning of the new era, you know. This is why Tommy Robinson probably has it, the new era. Because it's true. Because we are citizen journalists. We are the ones bringing the news to our people now. You know, nobody goes to Sky or BBC to hear their lies and their hypocrisy and their cover-ups of sex offenders. You know, BBC's rife. They were probably involved in all the children that were getting abused when I was in children's homes, you know, by all the people in power. You forget about the media. You know, who was in charge of all these medias back then, you know? You know, it's like, you know, it was rife. Children were being abused. There was, you know what gangs in Westminster having their pick. Just like Savile was having his pick in Broadmoor in the hospital. These guys were having their pick with children from children's homes. I'm no kidding you on, guys. And they all know it. Stormer knows it. They all know what their predecessors were up to, you know. And this is why they don't want anybody like us in the power, because we're going to blow the lid off it. And we will blow the lid off it one day. And that's why these people are so terrified. You see what it's like in America, what's happening with the Hollywood boys, all them ones in Hollywood, they're all terrified. We've got degenerates coming over here, running from over there because she's bought deep in that P. Diddy scandal. Bought deep in it. What's she been up to? Why are we taking her? Why is she coming here? She's coming here because we protect pedos. We do. Everybody knows that if you get done with a sexual offence and you belong to society, in this country you get let off, if you even get charged. That's why these people are coming here. That's why Ellen DeGeneres is coming to this country. Believe you me. We've got serious problems. And the problems go back to the 70s and the 80s. And this is where the problems lie, guys. You know what I mean? Because Labour Party were bought deep in it. They were bought deep in it in a systematic abuse of children in children's homes up and down. Special care homes, you know. Yeah, they were involved, bought deep. And the people that came behind them knew they were bought deep. But to get where they are today, they had to keep that quiet. You get me? And now they've kept it quiet that long. They can't say nothing because they will be going, why did you bring this up 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago when you knew about it? You know, so you can see the problem that we have with the problem with our government and why it's going to be really difficult to get rid of them. They protect the wealth of secrets, so they do. And this is another reason why they're going to flood this country. Because they know that we know about them. And these people coming in don't care. All they want is the age of consent brought down, you know. A lot of men are coming from countries where the age of consent is very, very low. Very low indeed. I think Iraq's brought it down to 9 years. So, as far as children are concerned, they're not really at the top of anybody's list. Apart from predators right now. And that's the way we see it in this country. Because of what we went through in this country, the way our governments behave, protecting sex offenders over and over again. Jimmy Savile, how can anybody have any faith in any government that was around when he was doing what he was doing? And I think Stormer is a lot more involved in that than we just know just yet. But believe you me, one day we will find out. We will find out. Because just like America, when things do change in 4 years' time, we ain't going to just forget what's happened. There is going to be heads rolling because people are screaming out that this is an illegitimate government and they're doing illegal things. They lied to the public to get into power and then went back on their words. Now, this is a democratic country, guys. Yes, we can vote people in, but surely we must be able to vote them out again. If people lie to get into power, surely there has to be a law that protects us, members of public. Surely there's been kings and kings before this illegitimate king. Because believe you me, he's another man that shouldn't be in power or have any power. She certainly should not be queen. You know, you don't have an affair with our princess and then become queen. In what world is that acceptable to anybody? And they wonder why everybody doesn't support the royals anymore. And that's just going to get worse and worse. The day when Prince Charles came out and basically congratulated the Muslim community for protecting themselves from the bogey EDL, the stormer told our king was running about everywhere, which was absolute lies. My faith in the royal family went straight down. And it'll probably never come back. I doubt it very much now. Like most people around me, royalists all their lives. That was the last straw. It was, you know. When you lose the support of royalists, like proper royalists, it's over. It's a downhill decline. There's no two ways about it, you know. And they're all running scared right now. So they are. And they're going to do everything they can. Everything in their power. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse. But because they're so desperate, just like the Bidens, they're going to make horrendous mistakes. Unforgivable mistakes. And I'm going to say this to anybody that's caught up in this. If you find yourself in prison one day because of this government, one day you will be released. One day you will be compensated. And one day you will see the tables turn. Believe you me. There's too many people in this country that love children and love the fact that the children can go out to parks and play. That has been suffering in our generations now for hundreds of years. Children have always been safe to go to the parks, you know. Now we're telling our children not to be going to parks. Not here where I am, but in many places in Scotland, in Ireland, and in England. You know, I was in Falkirk not so long ago when a hotel facing onto the local park, a girl was basically abducted, went through a 10-hour ordeal at the hands of one of these men in this hotel. And the man was bailed and released back into the hotel, as far as I believe. So I went into Falkirk and I spoke to the locals. And some of the things that they told me was horrific. The most horrific thing that some of them did say was there's still children going in that park at night time in the dark. You know, because the government are keeping quiet, they don't want you to know. They don't want you to protect your children. They want you just to be oblivious to what's going on. Because if you knew, you wouldn't be sitting in your armchair watching BBC and Sky and going, oh, they're just doctors and nurses that we need. Oh, they're just here to do the jobs that we don't want. You know, things have changed. Even the immigrants that I'm friends with have told me they've changed. They're worried. They're worried because they're scared they're going to get caught up in all this nonsense because the government are sitting there silence, calling everybody far right, you know. See, the only thing that matters to me, to see the black people and the immigrants that are in this country that know me, that are my friends. See, as long as they know I'm not far right and a racist, that's all that matters to me. Obviously, my family, my daughter, my partner, and anybody close to me. That's all that matters in life to me, you know. And, you know, I have a system set up. So these people are there for me to come out and tell, look, if the government's calling me far right because I'm concerned about my 3-week-old daughter, 3 weeks tomorrow, I'm concerned about bringing her up in this country and I'm thinking about leaving the country that I love, and they're going to call me far right because of that, then I'm going to prove to everybody else by my friends doing videos to show you how much the government are lying and that I've got genuine concerns that our government do not want to address. They just do not want to address. They'd rather shut me up, silence me, blacken my name, let you all know I'm a criminal, shouldn't be listened to. That's why I say, that's why I tell you, yes, I was a bank robber. Yes, I haven't been a nice guy. I've done bad things in prison. I've hurt people. I've had fights and I've been hurt. You know, I'm not making any excuses. Yes, I was a bad man. Yes, I done bad things. You know, but I was in bad situations at the time. I was trying to survive in a world on my own with nobody. With absolutely nobody. And it just happened that when my mother died, Labour were in power. And I just got fired into children's homes after children's home and was abused over again and over again. Groomed for months on end. Worn down. So believe me, I know how these victims feel. I know that it takes years to see the real damage that's done to these children. Years. 20, 30, 40 years, if they make it that far. But we've all to be quiet about that. Oh, dare we talk about the victims of grooming gangs in England or anywhere else? Dare we talk about anybody that's been sexually abused by an illegal immigrant? Oh my goodness. Oh no, we can't do that. Islam is a religion of peace. That's what they tell us. If you disagree with Islam, you're an Islamophobic. Because they can't call you a racist because Islam isn't a race. It's an ideology. And you can have, just like people mock and doubt my religion, Christianity, which I got no problems with. It's a free country. You know, I understand people don't believe in Christianity. I get that. I've got no problems with it, you know. But, you know, saying that everybody can take the piss out of my religion, but none of us can talk about anybody else's religion is fucking being a bit silly, I think. You know, in 2024, we're still getting on like that, you know. Why won't the government release figures of how many illegal immigrants have committed crimes in this country? I'm not caring about religion because everybody can work it out that all the Muslim countries in this world have got massive big fences, huge security, barbed wire fences, dogs, and will shoot on sight. That's how much the Muslim countries are not letting any of these men into their countries. That's fact. So they're all coming here. So they are. Because the door's wide open. Germany done it, and we've seen the repercussions of that. So we see what happens when the door gets wide open to anybody from anywhere around the world. And it seems to be majority Muslims that are making most of this opportunity while the far left government, the Labour, are in. And what we want to know is how many of them men are committing sexual offences in our country. Because the government need to be held accountable for every single one of them victims. And every single one of them victims and every single one of them victims' families, right down to the second cousins, should be paid compensation. Because that's a crime that's being committed. Allowing men to come into our country when we could stop them, we could put up a border, we've got a moat, you know. It's ridiculous that we're just willy-nilly letting anybody in, that we know there's terrorists, we know there's hardened criminals, we know there's men that have been kicked out of prisons just so these countries can get them out of their country and sent to this country. Because they're being told once you get in there, they won't send you out. Even if you go to prison and commit a crime, they won't and can't deport you. How can they not deport you? Oh, because you've got this group of British people, and they call them like Hope Not Hate and Antifa, and they'll spend money and get you lawyers to keep you in the country no matter what crime you commit. You know? Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Sounds like a party. But this is the world we live in, guys. And 110% there's crimes being committed by our government against the people of this country. 110%. Whoa, by far, you know. When people are screaming out at our government saying we're moving our kids to another country and our government keep fucking doing exactly doing the thing that's causing people to move, and they keep doing it. That's a crime. That's a crime. We were here first, right? My mother gave birth to me in Northern Ireland under the Union Jack, whether you like it or not, right? My mother was from Wales, was born in Gilfach, right? My granny and my granddad were from Wales. We've lived here for an awful long time. We've never once needed to worry about our kids in our playgrounds or in our parks. You tell me, where have we went wrong? What have we done to our country? Who has done this to our country? And why have they done this to their country? When you ask them questions and get no answers, that's when you know this is the last time this government or anybody like this government, Labour, Lib Dems, Conservatives, the Greens, any government part of this establishment now that we know that it's been involved in the abuse of our children since the 70s, maybe further back as well, took advantage of the power that they had, just like Jimmy Savile. Done the most unspeakable thing and targeted the most vulnerable children in our community back then, and then sit on their hands while the most vulnerable children in our community again are being targeted by men that aren't even born or come from parents that are even born in this country. In most cases, they're breaking into the country illegally. It's time for a change. You know, if we don't get help from any other countries, I don't think 4 years is going to be enough. We've got an illegitimate government in charge who do not represent the people. They are controlled by other people, other men, rich men that own the world, that run the world. And that's who they're taking their orders from, know the people, like they were elected to do. That should be enough for another election, guys. You know, don't give up. Please come online. Let people know what's going on. Let people know the seriousness of it all. This is no joke. This isn't me just hating on anybody. Believe you me, I want to live in a world where my children are safe. We all do. I want to live in a world where there's not men running about with machetes and knives. Where men had a toe-to-toe, and that was it. And they shook hands and went back into the pub and had a drink. That's the world I grew up in. I grew up in a world where we didn't have drug problems. We didn't have homelessness, you know. I lived in a world where when if something was wrong with you, you were pretty much seen to straight away by the NHS. Everything that I know of the world I lived in is gone. And I mean that, genuinely is gone. I can bring for receipts for everything, you know. You're waiting so long for everything now, guys. And a lot of people, it's just not, they're waiting too long and they're not making it. So there's so many people suffering right now because of what our government's doing, you know. And the only people that's suffering is us. Because these other people that are coming into the country, they're getting a heads up. Like, when they're in the hotels, they're bringing doctors to them. It's almost like private healthcare. They don't have to wait on a phone call for like 20, 40 an hour just to get through to a receptionist. They don't have to wait another 2 weeks just to get a phone call back, or a month to get a face-to-face. The doctors and nurses are going out to them. As soon as most government officials see a name or hear an accent, they straight away prioritise them for want of being called a racist. It's got so bad that everything's turned around, and we are now the ones that are being treated with racism. You know, it's clear everywhere you look. Everywhere you look on TV, it's virtual signaling. All the big jobs have all got DEI hires, and it's not working out well for some of them, you know. And like, nothing's proportion to the population. There's no comparison to the numbers of the different demographics. It's getting really, really silly. And yet again, the only people who are suffering is the people that are born and bred with parents that were born and bred in this country. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, people are moving and the government don't care. Is this replacement? I ask you guys and dolls, is this replacement? Do they know that we're going to leave? Do they know that You know, if a mosque goes up in an area and it gets flooded with Muslims, and the whole thing changes. You know, women can't walk about with their shoulders uncovered. You know, other Muslims in the area that were living a Western lifestyle have got to start covering up and going to mosque every whenever. You know, it's not just us, it's the people that were here living with us quite happily that left Muslim countries to get away from the extremism so they can relax in the Western world, maybe own a dog. Now Wales are banning dogs so Muslims don't get affected. I could go on all day, couldn't I? You know, but to Paul Thorpe, my heart goes out to you. You know, it really does. Genuinely man to man. Um, I don't know what to say to you because I know you're pretty much like me. We came from the same sort of background. We've lived the same sort of lives. You were a wee bit more ahead of us in London and Belfast, but you know, just had an outside toilet and all that. Don't think you maybe had that, like, but we had the outside toilet and stuff like that. And it's harder for us because we've lived such an amazing life in such an amazing country with such amazing people in general safety, you know. And everything's changed, and it's heartbreaking to love your country so much, and then to think that you're doing the unspeakable. And you're moving your children. Your children are going to speak in our language. You know, they're going to know a different culture. Your grandchildren, you know. But I'm going to be following suit. I'm going to be doing the exact same, you know. Maybe my wee girl will be speaking Russian, you know. Who knows? But definitely no future here for children. There's definitely no future here for Christians, that's for sure. Not when we're losing our churches and they're getting turned into mosques, you know. I miss all that, so I do, you know. I miss a lot, and it breaks my heart. But listen, guys, I've got to love and leave yous, and I'm sorry for being so down and all the rest of it, and you know. But it's difficult to pretend to be anything but down when you see Stormer laughing on TV at our petition, just laughing at us. Uh, no, not everybody will be happy, you know. You can't just change the election just because you're not happy. Yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll see. All my love, guys, and God bless every single one of you out there.